Hey everybody, Jason Burmis here. And obviously, we need to do yet another update. Things are moving so quick, okay? And a lot of people are still in denial that this is going to touch their lives, but it already has economically. Whether you realize it or not, the trickle is already coming, okay? But on many other real levels, we're going to see some things in this country we've never seen before, and it's really unfortunate. So, before I lay out what Cuomo said, and right now Donald Trump and his crew from the task force, Pence, Bricks, and I forget who the medical guy is, the black soldier gentleman, they're all doing a town hall on Fox News. Now, one of the reasons that I'm not going live as much, the 3 to 7 times, guys, I'm watching 5-6 hours of these things, and I'm going over all these mainstream articles. That's why it's so important for you to follow me at Twitter so you can see a lot of this stuff in the raw, because I don't have the time or even the energy to go in depth on a lot of these stories. But we're going to get into the announcement now of the digital dollar. Remember weeks ago when I was talking about this and I said if it really went down that way that this could be the usherance of a new global type currency or some kind of a blockchain technology? Looks like it may be on the way already, because you can't really go to a bank. Right now, banks are appointment only. And travel is being restricted more and more and more and more. And they're doing a lot more gradually than I thought. And I think some of that is the resistance of Trump, because Trump, look, I'm not saying Trump is good. I'm not saying that Trump told you the truth at all. But he wasn't in on the joke, the sick joke on you and me, the predator class joke. He wasn't. They were telling him 3 months ago in January everything was going to be fine. All right, and by the time he realized it, it was slow rollout time, and I'm going to show you evidence for that in a bit. Thumbs this video up, subscribe, and share if you're new. But let's talk about today and some of the staged WWE wrestling that's going on with Cuomo, a little bit of de Blasio, but you're seeing all these guys every day, and Trump right now. For instance, Cuomo's saying that he only got 400 ventilators, and he needs 30,000. Now, today's press conference was from the Javits Center, which has been retrofitted or is being retrofitted as a place for the military to have hospital beds. Now, as I told you before, SUNY dorms are already being retrofitted, and he's announced this too, but I told you before they were telling what sites. Now, again, he's talked about bringing patients upstate. Still not enough ventilators. Let's get back to that ventilator thing. So he says he gets 40 or 400 and he needs 30,000. All right. That's a little less than an eighth of what he needs. Okay. Now, first of all, Pence says today, and again, there's so many different, the reason I'm saying they're telling you, because I'm not telling you this, I'm reporting what's out there. Pence says he sent 2,000 ventilators to New York and is sending another 2,000 tomorrow. So that's 4,000. That would be 10 times what Cuomo says. Now, I don't know one way or the other. I'm not taking either's word for it. But when Trump gets asked about it on the town hall, you'll see, again, this is the pro wrestling kind of jabbing at each other, but they all know what's going down. A military lockdown in the United States, particularly in New York City. New York City will be the first really visual one because they're not going to allow people out unless they've been tested or they're essential travel, etc. He says that Cuomo in 2015 had the opportunity to buy 15,000 ventilators at a good price. And then he throws in that he chose death panels instead. Okay, this was literally maybe 20, 30 minutes ago on Fox News. Right now, just so everybody knows, I have it paused because, again, I have to go back to these things. I have to listen to what they say because often the headlines that you're getting aren't really the important portions of the admissions that these people are making time and time again. So let's talk about those admissions. Once again, Cuomo's telling you what they're suggesting one day becomes enforced the next. So all hospitals in New York State enforceably now have to have a plan and will have to get 50% more capacity. So in regular terms numbers, if you had 200 beds in a hospital in New York State, you now have to have 300 beds legally. But he wants to double that and make it 400 beds. You understand? For the extras. And he's suggesting that if they can do that now, but it will be mandated later. All right? And Cuomo also said there was no way to get these ventilators built in 2 days, 3 days, a week's time. I don't understand that. It is technology. We have a military. What we should be doing is now mobilizing that military, not to retrofit existing factories, but take abandoned factories. When I say existing with workforces, why not take abandoned factories, take managers out of these places? Because I saw Ford said that they were already on this and they were building it. So why wouldn't we have Ford engineers? We're talking about teleworking, right? Very easily, they wouldn't even have to move, telework and train military personnel. This is the Army. This is what we pay that amazing military industrial complex tax on. Now let's talk about antibodies and 5G and all this other stuff that's out there, because we're going to talk about what the media is attacking and what I think is just complete nonsense and people just keep sending me. Here's the deal. Cuomo also is very open that this has been here for months. And like they now are admitting 25,000 cases in New York, the vast majority in New York City. Well, that's because of the selective testing. Remember when I told you weeks ago there was easily 10 to 100,000 cases in New York? That's easily probably 1 to 2 million, bare minimum, that either do exist or have existed in New York State. Bare minimum. Okay? Because, again, they're telling you various things on how infectious this is. For instance, Pence told you 3 times as infectious as the flu today. All right? Okay. Well, I've heard 10 from Fauci, I believe, and Fauci is nowhere to be seen, and that's a big, oh no. Excuse me. But I've seen even more than 10 infectious. All right? Now, since South Korea still has that big model, and now they're saying 0.8, 0.9%, so almost 1%, it would still be 9 to 10 times as deadly as the flu. And quite frankly, that's what it looks like. The infrastructure is not built for that. Sure, the panic is there. Sure, 3/4 of the tests are coming back negative. But what they're talking about now is testing people for antibodies that may have already had this. Now, don't get me wrong. This is mainstream media stuff. I'd like to get somebody who's on the ground, who's giving these tests out, to tell me exactly what they're looking for. But now we're going to talk about 5G for a second, because there's a lot of people, they turned on the 5G. That's not how it works. I'm a tech guy. So I want to kind of explain the varying levels of what 5G is to people. First of all, it's just called 5th generation wireless. And I'm not a proponent of it, especially of the repeaters that are on streets. And we'll talk about that in a moment. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a whole issue with automation and control, but let's talk about physical health for the body. Yes, 5th generation wireless in many of its forms, especially 60 hertz, does penetrate your skin, and it can change your DNA. There's a lot of peer-reviewed studies out there. There's no doubt about that. However, the 5G router that I have in the other room is not the same thing. Yes, it's on a 2.4 gigahertz and a separate bandwidth. But when they talk about 5th generation wireless, it's just like when 4G came out, right? You had a band that some people were calling 4G that was just an extension of 3G, which was HPA plus, I believe. And then you got to the LTE, which was different, okay, which was a separate type. And when we're talking about, for instance, 5G, Andy, I'll get to that, thank you, made it back to Boston from Charlotte, our new, I can't see what that is, our new world. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, right? So let me get back to that. So now you have the satellites up there that are 5G. For instance, that's what Elon Musk and SpaceX are really there for. They're not going to the moon. They're not going to Mars. Go watch my old videos on it. Long before this, again, this is something I've studied. No, they're putting satellites up that they can then, yes, put out a different vibration of 5G. I shouldn't call it a vibration, but then again, everything is a vibration, right? A frequency, if you will. Here's the deal, and I've seen these videos, If that were the case, you wouldn't be seeing the spread the way it is. No way. No way. And you just don't flip a switch. Again, there's many different technologies we're talking about. And it wouldn't immediately make people ill to the point that they could have antibodies for it. I mean, there's just so much wrong and disinformation with that theory. I'm not telling you it's good for you. I'm not telling you it can't make you sick. But if you don't think by now that on some level this thing is very real, if you think all the tests are fake, please send me information why all the tests are fake. And every nation has destroyed their economy and locked their populaces down, on a micromanaged level. Don't get me wrong. This is a predator class, just absolute dreamscape, right? This is like a train of the soul of David Rockefeller, followed by George Soros, Bill Gates, Michael Bloomberg, Oprah Winfrey, Ted Turner, and Prince Philip riding a rainbow into a pot of globalist gold. I get it. So let's talk about that. Let's talk about the very real news stories, and thumbs this up, subscribe, share, that we're only seeing bits and pieces of. Now, first of all, in California, they're going to start using the drones. And if you think that after this is over, that they're going to stop using the drones to keep the people off the street, you're absolutely just uninformed. And just to show people, and I want to go down some of these stories here, that this is very real. And by the way, they are testing for immunity, aka antibodies. All right. This is what London looks like on the first day of the lockdown. Pretty bare, pretty spooky. This is going on. And don't even get me on the things that Boris Johnson has already done to his people. You got celebrities like 6ix9ine and Michael Avenatti and Bernie Madoff begging to get out of prison, right? I say we don't let the serial pedophile out of prison, okay? Rand Paul, of course, self-quarantined, says he tested positive. And that's the point. He was asymptomatic. And there's some people coming at him for even taking up a test. Why? If he's asymptomatic and can spread it like a symptomatic person, shouldn't he know too? The logic they've used in this to trick the American public and the world is disturbing and disgusting. So apparently this is Yakima, Washington. And this is the first, I thought New York would have the first prison riots and escapes, but it seems like we have it in Washington State. And I'm telling you now, the prison system cannot sustain itself in the United States. And this, along with more releases like are going on in New York, are going to be happening. All right, you see those are right there. Some of the officers trying to stop what's left of that riot. I haven't even got to the drone yet. AG Barr basically saying your stuff is my stuff. Nationalization, outright theft. Hey, if you got a warehouse of mass surgical masks, you will be hearing a knock on your door. It sounds like the right thing to do. But once again, if they were tabletop exercising this, and I'm going to show you the evidence of that, long before and not letting Trump in on it, right? Had Trump known, like in the beginning of January, this was real, he would have mobilized, I believe, the National Guard to start building not only ventilators, but test kits and masks like they are doing now, like they're going to retrofit across the nation. Because what you're seeing in New York now, I mean, everybody's using stupid language, social distancing, flatten the curve. Well, Cuomo himself called it a wave today. But I knew this wave was here a long time ago. Again, doesn't matter how deadly you think this is going to touch your life. Period. I mean, I have the documents. Somehow Dana White says he's going to make that fight happen. I don't know how it happens, but yeah. So here's 1,000 inmates will be released from New Jersey jails so far. Again, what's happening here on the East Coast, don't think it won't happen on the West and Middle America, folks. This is some of those paperwork that's going to make you an emergency services worker in what defense. You're going to have this at the checkpoints to keep moving. This is out of Los Angeles. Okay? This is very real. You notice that they're playing down all this paperwork and that stuff. I haven't even gotten to the actual drone being used that I wanted to show you. Okay? See, there's the story we're talking about. Now, here's one of those drones in action over in a Belgian police drone in Brussels Park. All right? Nothing Orwellian about. I'm sure they're going to stop using these after the crisis, right? Right? They're going to stop using them, right? Give me a break. They talk at you. Do you understand? Do you understand what that is? Mobile CCTV cameras, okay, coming to America. Now, as I told you, because everybody's going to be home and they're going to try to, make this impact as slow of a crash as they can, and we don't know how bad this is going to get. Again, what are they invoking? Depression times, FDR, World War II. This is war, invisible enemy. It's the reason I told you this was a global transformative event. All right? Thumbs this video up, subscribe and share. Join the Burmist Brigade. Please share this information with your friends and family so they can prepare for what's coming. Because, again, one by one, the states are falling. And yeah, it's a soft martial law and a suggested shelter in place now. Again, everything they're suggesting gets rolled out later. And as much as Trump wants to, I believe, resist this, the panic has not ensued because the goalpost keeps moving. First of all, just like I said, the only people this really isn't affecting are children. Okay, and when they get infected, they seem to get over it. Stephen Chase says, drone duck hunt. We can only hope, but I haven't even talked about the possibility of gun sweeps down the line. Those are very real. So now that we know that most cases are between men between 18 and 49, again, seems like a bioweapon, right? However, if you think that you're under 40 and you're safe in this country, that myth is starting to get busted every single day. Okay, 5 of the New Yorkers, and by the way, we'll get to Amy Klobuchar's 52-year-old husband who had no pre-existing conditions and is now on a ventilator, right? After coughing up blood. 125 New Yorkers killed by coronavirus, including a 36-year-old Brooklyn principal, a female, and a 49-year-old ex-cop, a guy who played for St. John's. This woman right here. And don't get me wrong. Remember I talked about the fact that they talk about pre-existing conditions and how a lot of us have diabetes and that's undiagnosed, or cancer that's undiagnosed. And a lot of people are just overweight anyway. And I'm not trying to shit on you for your lifestyle. I'm far from perfect. I need to hit the gym more. Now's the best opportunity. All right? For sure. Get in there. Motivate yourself. You're at home. But yeah, this is a drag queen, 50 years old, that died. All right? Pretty in-shape person. Just want to point that out too. So, and this is Lee Green. So myths are starting to get busted at like, oh, this is just for old people. And when more and more young people not only start, getting infected, but getting sick, and I think a lot of them have already been infected. There's a lot of people looking back at some of those vaping deaths and questioning them. Very real possibility, Probably much lower probability that they'll be taken out as someone who's, 70, 80 years old. But, I'm just not convinced. So Army equipment moving off the rail, not a sign of looming martial law. Really. It's not a sign of looming martial law. Okay. Self-isolation, executive orders, national defense acts. No. But they have the plan. You can read the mainstream plan and talk about continuity of government, all that stuff. Okay? So, again, when we're talking about hydrochloroquine and chloroquine, I do want to make the point that what? With those drugs, we have to take them with a grain of salt. They're in Africa. They're anti-malaria drugs, right? That's one thing. But 2, you have such mass hysteria that people in Arizona, apparently a couple took as a preventative measure some kind of fish cleaner. It's weird, right? Kind of weird. And one of them died. So again, with the mass hysteria, the mass panic, people are taking experimental vaccines. I'm more worried that Trump went on television and said the Department of Energy is going to be involved, when you look at the Department of Energy and how they've been a front for eugenics for the government. Go check out Annie Jacobsen's work, okay? You need to. You need to understand that. You don't even need to check out her work. You can check out all of the experimentation that's public knowledge that Bill Clinton had to admit to. And again, they whitewashed the vast majority of that. Andy Girard, true trips back and forth to North Carolina in 6 weeks, feeling 150% healthy. This is not about a pandemic. It's about total control. Very true. Humans shall be maintained at 500 million in perpetual balance with nature. Yes, the Guidestones. Bum, bum, bum. Let's pray to God that that's not it. In fact, guys, just to let people know, I finally put out another exclusive at Rockfin. I was doing 5 a week, and I need to get back on that. But again, I'm so busy, and I'm reposting. But there is an exclusive over there right now, breaking down Madonna's weird, basic occultic ritual that she did 10 months ago, and how it may tie into what's going on today, especially with a weird video she posted. So getting back to the prisons, I want to, reiterate, Weinstein's tested positive. There are people within the Riker system, go on Twitter right now, that are tweeting some pretty wild things. All right, how long before Rikers falls in some way? That will cause mass panic, not only in New York, but across the rest of the nation. People will be like, whoa, wait a minute. Prison riots in New York City. Whoa. So selective testing, I'm a big proponent for, broader testing. But you also see the panic in the people that are lined up with the swab tests now. We played footage last night on Mixed Martial Mindset from Paramus, New Jersey. There's a ton more things to go down on my timeline. But again, there's just so much news that we have to keep doing. So like I said yesterday, 200 more inmates have been released from New York City. That's going to continue on. Okay? They're telling you 2 months, 4 months, 6 months. A lot of people are asking me, well, how long do you think we're going to be out of work? They're telling you. And they keep telling you that the worst case scenario keeps moving. Do you get it? Do you understand? Listen to what they're saying. They're easing you into it. They're talking to you like you're a child, basically. Like it's Christmas time. And what do you want from Santa? Because he's going to come down the chimney and he's going to give us all the gift of wellness because the government loves us. He's going to take care of everything. Thumbs this video up, subscribe, and share. So the Louisiana governor, he's saying they have the fastest growing. But again, as tests roll out, this has been in this country since January. All right. And the people that travel to LA from New York to Chicago to Texas, there are people that travel all over. So if you don't think that this is already in every state, you're being naive. Slow rollout. So they scorn Rand Paul. He should not have been tested. Of course he should have. Why wouldn't he? You had the CPAC positive. You already had certain members of government in quarantine. He wasn't showing any symptoms. But if he's asymptomatic and he can spread it, and this is a real virus, why wouldn't he want to test? All right. Now, hopefully they're not going to exclude him from any voting. I think that people like him and Mike Lee are pretty damn important right now. Trying to keep as much of the executive action away from the people. So, again, National Guard, they going. These are, I think these are 2 days old. And this is just some of the stuff that's out there. This is the new Rochelle Center. So apparently they're now doing a deep cleaning of the synagogue there where the outbreak supposedly began. All right. And here they are. This is how they're going to take over. These are the, the lines for the testing. This, I believe, is the Javits Center. Yes. And that's where Cuomo held his thing today. Again, this is the Maryland National Guard. But this is them in those box stores, the Costcos, the BJs. This is going to be real. And they're the only ones that are hiring right now. Think about that. So other than the factories and the hospital work and all that, you might be able to get a job, you know, in the factories that are making the ventilators, etc. But right now, you can get a job at Walmart or Costco, you know, to feed everybody. You're an emergency worker. So, again, guys, that's the New Rochelle zone. They're going in there. They're doing a deep cleaning. But, you know, they're not in any hazmat gear. That's the other thing. You know, I hear, you know, Cuomo says the virus can live on a surface for 2 days. And then there's other studies trying to tell me it can live on a surface for 17 days. I don't know. I'm just telling you that the fear that this is inducing and the response that we're getting, we will never get our rights back in the way they were before this. All right? We just won't. I hate to tell you. You know, military enforcement of this is going to be the greatest nightmare we can ever imagine. So there we are. There's some people right there putting on the, what is it, the PEP gear, I believe it is. So let's continue on. And as I've said, this is the forever enemy, right? They found 40 mutations of the coronavirus. And they're saying it can be traced back to a football match in England. Remember, we still don't really have a patient zero. And on one end, you have Donald Trump talking about it being from China and a Chinese virus. And on the other end, you got China and Iran saying it's a bioweapon, right? Target against them. I don't think it's a nation-state deal anyway. I think that it was probably made in a lab, obviously. All the evidence would suggest that. Again, show me the billionaires that are dying. Please, I'm waiting. I'm waiting for the billionaires to die. When that happens, maybe I'll think it's natural. But I just, until then, call me kooky and let me question, okay? And by the way, experts debunk the myths that the American military engineered. First amendment, Chinese or American military. I don't know who engineered it. There's a lot of bioweapons labs across the world. And just because you had that Harvard professor get arrested and those 2 Chinese students, you know, tailored back to China, even then, that doesn't mean a nation state orchestrated it. I keep telling people, world's a scary place in that regard. Bilderberg Group exists. Consortiums of predator class psychopaths, sociopaths exist. So when you don't even have really the FBI, the CIA, MI5, MI6 doing stuff anymore, but subcontracting it out, you know, to places like Black Cube, Stratfor, Booz Allen Hamilton, you can't say this is a nation state. We don't know any of it. But remember, we're going to debunk it all. God forbid Tom Cotton told some truth on January 30th. Weird. No. It came from bat soup in a market. Give me a break. Give me a break. But here we are again. Doesn't matter what you think about it. The response is very, very real. And I didn't appreciate this bloody elbow. Not that you've done really a ton of crack work on anything. Why are his conspiracy theories the dumbest? Should we be listening to the WHO and the CDC and our government officials that basically keep moving the goalpost and continually lie and just say, hey, everything could change in 24 hours or 12 hours or hour by hour? No, we need to listen to the scripted Johnny nonsense that was war-gamed in front of us, via Event 201. And you know what? Now's the time to do this. Okay? So here's a piece of audio here, video as well. Let's just play it.
No. So again, I'm going to let it play over a couple times so you can hear it. It's very interesting. Take a listen.
This is not about retribution. This matters going forward. We're in a live exercise here to get this right. We need to.
Okay, so you heard, we are in the middle of a live exercise right here. So obviously, you know, this is Secretary of State Pompeo, but he's also CIA Pompeo. We lied, we cheated, we stealed Pompeo. So that would admit to me, at the very least, with this as a live exercise, that they've been wargaming this since the very beginning when China was on it. And Trump, you can see he's annoyed, and he says, you should have let us know. Listen to it again.
We're in a live exercise here to get this right. We need to make sure that
you should have let us know. All right? So, look, man, there are certain things that I'm not a big fan of his on. But anybody who's watched this channel knows that I've been fair, right? I've taken him to task on Assange and Syria and the OPCW and a lot of other things. But I also have shown how Russiagate was complete nonsense as well. All right? I've been breaking that down from the very beginning. So you could tell that Trump's annoyed, but again, kind of his own fault for putting Pompeo where he is, right? Kind of his own fault for having people like Bolton and Mattis in his cabinet before that. Kind of his own fault for having somebody like Gina Haspel in there. What did you think they were going to do? So I want to point this out. We just showed you the military in a lot of these box stores, and there will be those kind of supply chains. And here's the thing. You know, I didn't war game this part in my mind, but they've taken away your guns in certain states like New Jersey. You can't get a pistol permit in New York, all that stuff. Ammo's off the shelves. They've taken that away. You can get pizza delivery. You can get Big Macs delivered. Apparently, that's going to be the last thing they take from you. But once the military is in place, okay, they will take that from you. And food rationing may be introduced. All right? That's something that's being discussed right now in France and Spain. Okay? So think about that. You know, a lot of people want to, let's demonize you for protecting your family and having 6 months worth of food. Well, when first world governments are telling me that they might be food rationing immediately, well, that's a little bit alarming. You're not hearing that on the mainstream, are you? That's not something they're focusing on. Now, you know, when I first started really covering this, I thought that Florida would be one of the first states to fall. The problem is Florida's huge. And even though they have the National Guard there, they just did not have the infrastructure to especially shut down spring break. And I believe that's why a lot of that stuff went unenforced. They didn't want outrage, as you would expect. Some of the most rebellious people would have been young people that were drinking and most difficult to deal with. But now, guess who's testing positive? Of course. Of course they are. But they would have tested positive before spring break. And community spread is all over the nation. Any of this point of contact bullshit that they were pushing on you a week ago, or they may be pushing on you in your community now, is all nonsense. It's buying them time. Again, with selective testing, that's all that is. Patting you on the head, telling you everything's going to be okay. Order some Domino's. You know what I'm saying? You got time. Excuse me. So, Poot Poot over here is now, you know, he's getting in the bio suits. And look, I get it. A lot of people hate Vladimir, Lord Poot Poot. If anything, look how he handles the situation in his country compared to how we've handled it. 12 days in, and he's got 40% of this huge 500-bed infectious disease clinic in an open field. All right? I don't know. Again, we're going to retrofit, so 500 beds may be nothing. I mean, you look at what they did with the Javits Center, it was pretty there. But I haven't seen the type of panic coming out of that country right now. Not yet. If somebody can point me to it, of course I'll put it out there. And I don't think it's because they have a more restrictive internet, et cetera. They're not China, everybody. I just want to put that out there. And things leaked out of China, believe me. And things are going to leak out all over not only this country, but around the world. I'm not even going to play you a supposed video outside of Mexico right now where riots and looting may be going on. So, again, just to kind of smash that idea of pre-existing conditions, etc. You know, her husband's diagnosed with it. He's coughing up blood, and he's on a respirator. He's on oxygen, okay? So, you know, I'm no fan of Amy. You know, I like what she did with Epstein pre her run on the president, but she's an establishment hack. Still not rooting for her husband to die. Not my thing. So here's the deal. Get ready to shack up, America. I keep saying this. Now, twofold. All right? And Boris Johnson telling people couples are banned from being with each other. That's crazy to me. That's crazy to me. Okay? It's nuts. But whatever. Get ready. Really. Like, either you're going without sex, most likely, unless you're an emergency worker and you're getting around these rules and blah, 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 blah. No sex for 2 to 6 months, maybe more. In certain areas, for sure. Or you're married and you've never spent a week with your spouse unabated. Even on vacation, you went away, you were in the casino, she was somewhere else shopping, da-da-da-da. You've never been locked in a house with one of those people. Lots of divorces coming. We'll see if those relationships can last. Even Idris Elba, said it was the most trying time with him and his current girlfriend. That's nothing. That's nothing. A lot of couples already lie to each other on a regular basis. Imagine the couples that can't have their affairs. Oh, no, I know, Jason. You're being cynical. No couples ever have affairs. No one ever cheats on each other in the real world. I mean, my goodness. And I know there's also concerns about, people that are in abusive homes. Yeah, no shit. There's a lot out there, guys. And one of the things that I can actually relate to Trump with yesterday is when he was talking about how many deaths there would be from mental health. And he's right. And just physical illness from being locked in. And he's right. We need sunshine. We need human contact. When you're depressed, when you're not feeling good, this does lower your immune system, for sure. Listen, I'm still feeling strong like a bull. Obviously, I'm upset about all this stuff. But I'm fighting as hard as I can. And I know I've prepared my family. So what else can I do right now? Okay? Except for bring the truth to you guys. So aside from the digital currency and all that good stuff, remember there's a push for transhumanism, AI, automation, you name it. And will the Supercomputer Summit find the solution to the coronavirus? Because we should let machines decide our future. Forget about just unelected bureaucrats, one of which I'm going to show you right here. Machines to decide our future. And Inglesby, this guy, Tom Inglesby, I just want to point out that the same people telling us what to do now are the same people that told us what to do in the Event 201 exercise from October 2019. And we're going to do the third part today, I promise. We are. Thumbs this video up, subscribe, and share. So that's the same guy that moderated Event 201, the pandemic exercise where a coronavirus originates from a pig in South America. And, the good people over at NBC Universal, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, those people, the World Health Organization, the World Bank, Johnson & Johnson, people we never elected, they get to decide what happens to us in the market. Thank you, Davos, World Economic Forum, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, and you, John Hopkins, led by that gentleman, Tom Inglesby, for telling us what we as sheep need to be doing and deciding our lives and whether we'll see our loved ones again. Thank you so much. If you didn't pick up on that hint of sarcasm, you should have. So guys, with all that being said, please thumbs this up, subscribe, share. Let's get the Burmis Brigade to 50,000. I mean, times are changing hard. And if you're sharing this on social media, I thank you. Blogs, anywhere, email chains, you name it. $9.99 a month. Rockfin, who knows? And if they kick me off YouTube, I'll be on Rockfin a lot more. But you can also check out my exclusive Rockfin video breaking down Madonna and her future performance. And if you can financially support me, $5, $10, $15, big donors. Thank you for all the anonymous donations recently. Keeps me going. For as long as, the digital currency is running. Remember, let's go back to that. The digital dollar is running. You're still helping me out as long as I can get goods and services delivered here. And hopefully, you know, the mail services are never going to go down. Guys, I love you. We're going to keep it real. We're going to keep up on all this news. We're going to do the Event 201 Watch Along Part 3 coming up. See you on the flip side.